Well, let's talk about starting your own company. Now, I've had many different kinds of examples with this. Mostly, well, not mostly, but for the most part, many of my businesses have been with other partners. And I've learned over time that sometimes, having a partner is not a benefit. So, when you're thinking about starting your own company, if you're out of a job or if, your side gig is going gangbuster and you're doing great, okay, and maybe you have a partner now, maybe you're thinking about bringing on a partner, maybe you're thinking about working with a friend, whatever it might be. I do have a lot of cautionary tales. I'm not going to go into all the stories, but for the most part, the way I look at it is I would really think twice before I would have a partner, because ultimately, as I said the other day, whatever client hires you also has a high probability of firing you, in the consulting world. Um, and that's just, nature of the beast kind of thing. When it comes to partnerships, whatever partnership starts, inevitably the partnership ends at some point. Whether the person passes away, unfortunately, or you pass away, or they decide to do something else, or you have a big fight, or they want to move, or they get remarried, and whatever the case might be. So I would really think twice about that. So let's just set that off to the side, really. When it comes to starting your own company, let's say it's you, and maybe you don't have a partner, but you have people helping you, whatever it might be. But you're essentially a solopreneur, whatever you want to call it, where it's your company, you're starting something online, you're starting to sell something on Etsy or eBay or whatever the case might be. It's your company in essence. You know, what I'm doing now is one of the companies that I'm trying to start, and I have a lot of fires going. Let's just put it that way. One of the companies I'm trying to start is an AI consultancy, essentially for marketing. So the idea or ideal situation would be to help smaller mom and pop shops or small businesses that might not have the time or the function or the admin person to do things like send emails to customers or have a response, a trigger that responds to a customer that, hey, thank you very much for your, this or that, and thank you for supporting us, thank you for your continued support, those kinds of things. And then it also works into, I can go into a company and tell someone, or looking at um various data and talking with them, make recommendations as to, have you thought about doing something on the back end that might help you gather this information, or have you thought about creating a survey that gives you this kind of information, and having, AI either send out that information, create that information, whatever it might be, as well as customizing the customer experience. So my AI focus, if you will, is on marketing. It's not necessarily like I do things even on for myself. I do things for business development, which oftentimes is confused with marketing, and I understand that. What I'm really talking about is, customer retention, or just identifying customers in essence by data, what their needs are, what time you usually get calls, or what the most frequently asked question is, or when you visit a client and you do a service call, do you send an email out right away thanking them and saying, "Hey, let me know, if you need anything else, give me a call," those kinds of things. And a lot of smaller companies either don't have a person to do that, don't have the time to do that, which is kind of the same. Don't have extra money to spend on someone to do that, or something like that, or don't want to buy a higher priced platform. And the good thing about AI is, even if you want to use a platform that might be free forever and it only limits to two or three things, a lot of email newsletters do these kinds of things up to, 1,000 emails. It's free. You can create your email newsletter. There's certain things you can't do, and you can create it and have it sent out. Well, nowadays you can have AI write the darn thing for you, pop it in and send it out. And you can also find the AI place because I know that they're out there, that does the whole thing for you. And then you just hit send or you just schedule it for it to go out. So there's many different ways to look at it. And and I have to tell you that starting your own company, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details of what my company is all about, but from a emotional standpoint and intellectual standpoint, not saying I'm an intellect, but like it wears you down. I mean, there's times that I'm, by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I need to like totally refuel. I need to totally refuel. I've started my day at 7:30. A late day for me is 8 o'clock. I know for some people they start, 6 o'clock they start doing work, but I usually start around 7:30 ish. And so by 2 or 3, I've put in a pretty good day. Even when I'm at lunch, I'm, checking email and all that kind of stuff. But I have to tell you that the daunting task is putting together all of these programs to send out to customers, whether it's, for a lead or it's thanking them for an interview or a meeting that, an informational interview or a lead that they provided and things like that. And you don't hear a lot, you don't always get a response, or you don't get a response in a very timely manner. And so it can be very demoralizing, where if you have consecutive days where you're not hearing things back, you're reaching out to new customers and you're looking at the stats, that they give you on the AI tool. And, oh, wow, 7 people opened up the email today and I sent 20 out. That's a pretty good ratio. Hey, that's not bad. Nobody responded. The one thing about owning your own company is it's, I joke, but it's high school all over again, at least for me. Imagine this face 20 years, 35 years younger, okay? Wasn't much better. Let's just put it that way. So what I'm getting at is lots of rejection, okay? When I was in high school, lots of rejection. And so it's a lot of rejection now, for a variety of reasons that you may never ever know. Sometimes you want to know, sometimes you really want to know, but you usually don't know. It would be like, oftentimes nobody wants to part with their money. When it comes to AI, people are scared of AI. People don't understand AI. People don't realize the capabilities of AI. People don't realize how ubiquitous AI is going to be in like 5 years, even more so than it is now. If you know anything about AI, it's been in our society for a while. Like I used Grammarly years ago, but then we talk about ChatGPT. I use Copy.ai years ago, but ChatGPT came out in, the fall of 2023, and that was like, "Oh, that's AI." Well, we've been using AI for a long time. We just might not have realized it. I mean, for to a certain extent, when you used to go into an email and start typing a sentence and it would finish the sentence for you, that's AI. It's, predicting what you're gonna write and offering it up to you. It's just it wasn't packaged as that. But now it's cool to talk about AI. And that's the one thing I always find myself worrying about is, how topical it is, how trendy it is. I don't wanna be lost. I'm committed to this. But so I really I'm certified in AI for marketing, essentially from the University of Virginia. I have another certification from Kennesaw State. I'm certified from, there's another school I can't remember off the top of my head, that I'm certified in ethics of AI. And these are all good things when you're running a business, to talk about, like on your website, on your LinkedIn, all of that, to let people know. Does it make a difference? Really, no. It gives you a little bit of credibility, maybe. If they actually value some of the certificates, they know that it's not like going to getting a 4-year degree or getting a master's in or getting a PhD in. I mean, my classes are essentially what One or two of them were 2 weeks, the other one was 4 weeks. So, they're not massive amounts of time or anything like that. But it's credibility, and that's what you wanna do. You wanna when you're starting your own company and you don't have, a laundry list of people to contact, you have to be the one out there. You have to be the one chirping, if you will. You have to be the one asking for informational interviews with people who are already in that industry. Okay. And this is again, it's turning into a coaching session. I don't mean for it to be that way. I'm just letting you know sort of the way my mind works. So it's a constant. Let's go to back to the 10,000 foot view. Lots of rejection. You have to have a 10,000 foot view to move it forward. You have to say things to yourself or make goals like, I'm going to reach out to 100 people a day or 20 people a day, whatever it might be, and then do that. And then calculate, if anybody's responding or what they're saying, or, if you actually get somebody on the phone or you have an email chat with somebody back and forth, figure out why they contacted you, or, why they responded, why they don't want to use it, why they do, why they are interested in it. Get that information so you can move forward. But it's a lot of rejection. You got to stay grounded. That's why when I talk about routines, it's very important to do those routines because it sets up your day for success. You're not starting off going, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do?" It's you've already done these 3 or 4 things, and you've marked them off your list, and it's like, "Hey, what's the next thing I have to do?" That's the importance of having your own business, motivating yourself. Having your own business sometimes is I don't want to say most depressing thing in the world, but it is definitely the toughest grind you're probably ever going to have. Because unless you already have a book, a book of business that you're taking from another business you worked at, or your business partner's doing something like that, like you're all of a sudden you're creating a business where you're going to be selling insurance. I'm just making this up. And you're not an insurance agent, but you're a marketing expert, let's just say, and you have a friend or a relative that's, an insurance agent, and they're going to take their book of business with you. And so you're going to get, you know, a 100 clients day one. Well, that's fantastic. All right. That is fantastic. However, you will grind because you will want to grow, or most people will want to grow, or God forbid, you'll have to keep getting clients in that regard because your clients might pass away, might move, might have a son or a daughter who all of a sudden became a real estate agent and they're going with them and things change. So you'll have to constantly be looking for that new business. You know, when I have mentored, the one thing I always say is it's a great product. You guys, everybody has a great idea. Can you get somebody to buy it? And a lot of times it's like, the MVP, most viable product. Sorry, I'm thinking of sports too much, obviously, with my outfit, but that doesn't really match. And so you take the most viable product and oh my God, this is so great. Da, 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 da. Is there a need for it? You know, are people going, are people willing to pay money for it? And if so, how much money are they really willing to pay for it? So you have to think about getting new business, looking professional, like your website, business cards, anything like emails, all of that. You don't want to look rinky dinky. You don't want your website to look like it was designed 20 years ago. You don't want any of that stuff. A simple website usually can do the job. Now, when a simple website isn't enough, is when you're selling websites. That's when that's problematic. But for the most part, you can get what Squarespace, Wix. I do a lot of stuff on GoDaddy and they have a website builder that's, relatively simple. You can have people buy stuff from your website through GoDaddy. I don't think you have a lot of choices with GoDaddy, but the sites look fine. That they're up to date. They don't look out of place. And so you can use those things to your benefit. And you can have a professional website that says things. So you want to look professional. You want to know that you're out on an island, that it can be somewhat, let's not use the word depressing, but it can be a grind, a constant grind. And there's no problem. And you should think about There's no problem doing this, and you should think about taking an afternoon off, or, you know, you work 3 weeks and you take off a Monday or a Friday to have a 3-day weekend, or maybe you unwind. Maybe you work a little bit of time over that 3-day weekend, but you make sure that on that weekday, you're not working 8 hours. Maybe you're working 2, and you're playing around a golf, or you're doing something with your spouse or kids or parents or siblings or other relatives and friends, whatever it might be. Give yourself that to fall back on. It's kind of like that cheat day when you're working out and you're eating right. It's like, okay, I need a cheat day because I want to have that hamburger from Five Guys. I know it's 7,000 calories, but I want to have that, okay, cheeseburger from Five Guys. And so, again, going backwards, because I like to repeat myself because that's just who I am. But, so you have that need to to look at things from a 10,000-foot view rather than looking at every email you sent and every person that rejected you. You have to take it in stride, if you will. If you get down in the weeds too much when you own your own business, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to last too long at it. You're going to be sending your resume out pretty quickly. And you're going to get rejected. You're going to have to give yourself a break every once in a while. You're going to have to give yourself time to unwind and recharge. It seems silly to say, but yeah, you really do need that time. You got to know that sometimes you can't spend oodles of money on some stupid platform. You got to look for the cheaper alternative. You got to look for the free version of that and maybe not use everything that goes with it. It's a total grind, but you're not alone. The biggest reason that most things fail is because people just give up. Now, sometimes businesses aren't meant to be. I had an animation studio, and it was a lot of work to get clients. And for whatever reason, we would bring people in, and a lot of other people couldn't sell it. I could sell it, okay, but we needed more people selling it to make it successful. And like I said, that's the reason that things don't make it, because the sales aren't there. So it is good in some ways to test your idea, to say, hey, would you be willing to do this or that? You know, Years ago, I saw this video, and it was this side hustle that you could basically clean someone's waste bin, the one on wheels, the one you wheel down to the curb and they clean it out, and then you wheel it back up your way, kind of thing, one of those. And so I'm like, yeah, I can probably do that. It would be gross as heck, but I can get like gear that, I got like a face mat, like one of those things from COVID, that clear mask that you put down, and big rubber gloves and all this other kind of stuff. And I quickly realized that, well, maybe not quickly, it depends on your definition, but after about 3 weeks, 4 weeks of doing this, that it just wasn't worth the money, that it wasn't doable. Yeah, there were people that wanted it, but they wanted it for $20, and they wanted me to drive halfway across the city to get there, and it just didn't make any sense. You know, they weren't willing to pay $75. They were willing to pay 25 or $30 for it. It wasn't worth it. And you also have to remember, just, well, I'm not going to get into all that, all the little needle stuff, all the little, getting into the weeds stuff. But just know that you're not alone. I think I'll talk more about this tomorrow. Maybe I'll have some better put together thoughts. You're not alone. It is a grind, and it's grueling. It's one of the toughest emotional things that you'll do. It's different than like a death in the family, divorce, being laid off. It's a different kind of emotion, but it's a strong, very strong emotion. And the best thing I can tell you is keep doing it. Keep the grind up. It will pay off, because as you grind, you will figure out that maybe the goal right here that you've been having for the last 2 months isn't quite the right goal, that you have to pivot, as they always say, over here, and that's it. You know, one of my favorite movies, and I haven't watched it more than twice, but one of the movies I love is The Founder, I think it's called, the one about McDonald's and Ray Kroc, and how the guy from the office sat him down and said, "You don't have a burger business, you have a real estate business." That was a pivot. That was a pivot for Ray Kroc right then and there. You might think that you have a trash cleaning business, but find out that, well, that wasn't a pivot. Okay, that's a bad example. But you may find out that, like, let's say that you have I'm running out of time here. You might have a cell phone fixing service, but realize that there's 10,000 cell phone fixers, and actually, you, you may find that it's better that you're like the middleman, like, hey, come to Tom and I'll make sure your cell phone gets fixed. But what you do is you divvy up the cell phone to various vendors throughout your metropolitan area that you're not actually having to fix the phones. Even if you can, it's like, it's not worth my time. I'll just take a cut of 20% of the sale and give it to, whoever that is, that I trust, and make money that way. That might be your pivot. So tomorrow I'll talk a little bit more, be a little more exact, not so ADHD, but talk about the grind that is having your own company. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a good time. I'll talk to you soon.